Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Startup Junkies podcast. Thank you for tuning in, however or wherever you are. We appreciate it. My name's Caleb. I am on the Startup Junkie team. I'm joined by my usual co-host, your familiar face that you'll see is Jeff Amerine.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Glad to be back.
And we have a new co-host joining us for his first time on the Startup Junkies podcast, Davis. Welcome aboard, Davis.
I appreciate that. Glad to be here.
And our special guest today is Paul Chambers. He's the co-founder and CEO of the Subscription Trade Association. Paul has an extensive expertise in the subscription commerce economy dating back more than 2 decades. He's been recognized by national and international publications for his work in this space, and we're excited to have him. Welcome, Paul.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, guys. The 2 decades thing makes me feel old, but I have to remember I started when I was like 5.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great. That's where. So what? So tell us about the Subscription Trade Association.
Yeah. So anything you subscribe to in your life, from Netflix and Peloton to Dollar Shave Club and FabFitFun, that's the space we represent. We're the largest direct-to-consumer trade association in the world, and we're very proud to host the largest conference in the world around the direct-to-consumer subscription space as well. Pre-COVID, in 2019, we were over 1,000 attendees. During COVID, we held some virtual events that had 2,000-3,000 attendees throughout those times. And we're going to be back to in-person live events coming up here September 21 to 23 with SubSummit in Dallas, Texas. So hoping to get back into the swing of things as best we can, keeping people safe and comfortable in their own way.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That's right. Right after our startup crawl and not too far from where we're located. Dallas is relatively close to Northwest Arkansas.
You should come. It'll be a lot of fun.
It feels like liberation, doesn't it, to be able to get back to live events?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, even when you get to the whole like mask on, mask off thing, here in Michigan, it's a little bit more strict. And so they, when the CDC changed rules, they're like, do you go in with the mask on, mask off? Everybody's a little bit different. So we're kind of taking that same approach with the events. We know people are ready to get back to meet in person. Our survey data says like half are ready for in-person, half are ready for virtual. So we are going to do a hybrid event this year and allow people to select their comfort level, basically. And even when they're on site, kind of same thing, indicate, using our lanyards will tell you, red, green, or yellow, how you're feeling. If you're ready for hugs and high fives, or give me a little bit of distance still.
Very cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your journey to, founding Subscription Trade Association. What led to that?
Yeah, admittedly, we kind of stumbled into it in a way. We were running a startup called the Gentleman's Box. And it was a monthly subscription of a box that can make any man into a true gentleman, and it would send you a styled, for $25 a month at the time, I'd send you a styled box of a matching tie and socks and pocket square. And as we were building the Gentleman's Box, we wanted to find a conference to attend to meet other like-minded subscription box owners, because it's a little bit of a niche space. You're an e-com company, but it's beyond that. And the subscription box world has much more nuances and complexities to it. So let's find other subscription box owners to network with and meet with. Some really intense Googling. I actually went to like page 2 or page 3 and couldn't find another conference out there like what we're looking for. And so we're crazy startup entrepreneurs. We like doing that. And so we're like, let's start a conference for subscription boxes. And that's when it all began in 2016, where we launched SubSummit in Detroit. We're from this region here, so we wanted to hold the first one close to home. So if something went wrong, I could go back to my house and get some more microphones or cameras or computers or whatever we needed. And we got 200 people into the room, and it was amazing. And from there, we kept growing and went to Austin in 2017 with almost 500 people in the room, went to Denver in 2018 with almost 800 people in the room, and New Orleans in 2019 with over 1,000. And as along the way, we found that, I think our PR guy at the time was like, you should find like a trade association to align with, and you could be their conference, because all conferences, tie into some trade associations sometimes. Again, really intense Googling, page 2, page 3, went to like page 5. And there's no trade association in the space either. And so that's when we're like, okay, let's do this now. And we started the Subscription Trade Association, and it's been a lot of fun for us because, we didn't set out to build an event to make millions of dollars and to just be, a money grab type scenario. Is we set out to help find a community and create a community, and that's led us to where we're at today. And we're so fortunate to continue with that mission.
I'd be interested in some of the dynamics of the subscription business these days. There was a time ago, from an investment standpoint, where investors would look at a subscription business and they say, well, it's good as a lead-in to a long-term e-commerce play because you're going to get a lot of fall off after 6 months. What's kind of the state of the state in subscription businesses?
Yeah. Some of that's still true in some ways in terms of just where you see the fall off, or what we call churn of subscribers. But what we're finding over the course of time is, as these businesses are doing more of this, and you're seeing more subscriptions, more lessons learned, more data is kind of harvested from what's there, we're finding that there's ways that these businesses and subscription businesses can improve retention, thus reducing churn. So what you'd see, typically like a 6-7 month, cycle, we call like box burnout, people would get, you'd find ways when they'd go to cancel, not to hold them hostage, but to help improve that relationship with them. So a lot of companies, the traditional approach was like, well, let's try and like hide the cancel button, or let's make it so they have to call us to cancel. Instead, give them a very clear way to cancel. And when they get to that point, say, what are your reasons for canceling? Is it price? Is the price too much? Do you have too much stuff? Are you, or just kind of want to take a break for a minute? Is, this a concern, or whatever it may be? And asking them those questions. And when they answer them, give them options, give them choices. Okay, I have too much stuff. Give them the option to pause for a minute, or maybe skip a month, or maybe go on a quarterly model, right? So you're continuing that relationship. It's a much more friendly way. And similarly, if price is a concern, then, let's find a way, can we give you your next box for only $15 and help you out for a minute? So that's what we're finding, ways to improve that relationship. And we look at subscription as kind of the next frontier in e-commerce, is continuing to shape the future. I mean, companies as large as Apple and Amazon and Tesla are betting the future of their companies on subscription. And you see it all around us in every facet. And so we're finding more and more investor interest in the space, certainly as time goes on.
I'll tell you what, in the South, if somebody comes up with subscription bourbon and ammunition, they're going to kill it.
All in one box. I don't know, can you legally do that?
No, not even close.
Until you get caught.
Something to look into for a gentleman box, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The Southern gentleman box.
There are some great like bourbon of the month clubs, now ammunition might be an interesting one. That could be, because during COVID, all the things that you couldn't find became huge in terms of subscription.
Right.
There's 2 toilet paper subscriptions out there, Bitbee and Who Gives a Crap, one of my favorite company names out there. And Who Gives a Crap had enormous growth because you remember what we couldn't find during the pandemic.
Exactly.
Pandemic toilet paper. So all of a sudden you're subscribing to it. And same thing with like HelloFresh, as grocery stores were running out. People were looking for new and unique ways to bring meals into their homes, and they're cooking more. And COVID really accelerated the subscription boom. So it's, there's a subscription box out there for everyone and everything, we say.
What are some of the craziest ones you've seen where you were really shocked that they actually worked?
I mean, I'll tell you one of the craziest ones that the very first Sub Summit he attended is a kitchen sponge of the month club. And because you think about it, you're like, I need a new kitchen sponge every month, and you'd ship you a sponge in just this little flat container. But there's the dog mom box. There's a horse box for if you're a horse lover, that you can come with treats and different things for your horse every month. Like I kid you not, there's literally a subscription for everything. And even, again, the height of the pandemic, trying to keep our kids entertained. There's so many great kids subscription boxes that you see out there, like Bits Box and Clay Club and things like that. So you can dream it up. It probably exists.
Somebody's doing it, right?
Yeah. And if you haven't found anybody who's done it, I think you should try it, because
and I think there's like this combination of, you mentioned people, having these subscription boxes for things they struggled to find during the height of the pandemic. But if they're anything like me, there's also just this sense of joy around getting a package in the mail. Like,
Yeah.
and that feeds my, Amazon online shopping addictions. But just getting something in a package in the mail, it's like, Christmas. It's like, all right, I got something. What's in this?
That's great. And Loot Crate was one of the very first subscription boxes for the gamers and geeks. And, they really created a lot of that craze around the collectibles, and you look forward to getting it every month. And they do fun things where you could take the box and change it into something else with, kind of flipping it inside out and come in different form factors. But that's a lot of the fun. You'd be, we call it discovery and delight. And they're really kind of three different areas that you see of that we call the subscription trifecta: the discovery and delight, showing you, products that you maybe didn't know existed or things that you'd like to be introduced to. There's a replenishment side of it with, things that you need every month, like the toilet paper, like the razors, stuff that you're gonna run out of. And then the other third part is access, giving you access into things. There's a great subscription called Vinyl Me Please, which they do vinyl records, which are really cool. But as a member, you're signing up to get these vinyl records every month. But as a member, you get access to special prints that they're doing, or you get special member pricing. So they're giving you access as part of that membership as well, which is really cool.
Well, I'm a sucker for subscription boxes, so I'm writing that one down, Vinyl Me, because I will be checking that out.
Yeah, we did a live YouTube live on it the other day, and I kept referring to them as like the most polite company on the internet because please is in their name. And then there's just like everything about their site was just so like welcoming and nice. So you can't find a more polite subscription than Vinyl Me Please.
Are they Canadian?
No, surprisingly.
Hey folks, Jeff Amerine here. Thanks again for tuning into the Startup Junkies podcast. Steve Blank, the father of modern entrepreneurship, recently called the book that Jeff Standrich and I wrote, Creating Startup Junkies, a must-read playbook for anyone who wants to kindle innovation and entrepreneurship in their community. This whole idea of building sustainable venture ecosystems in unexpected places gives you the tools, the techniques, and the inspiration to do what we've done in Northwest Arkansas and Central Arkansas in your neck of the woods. If you'd like to find out more, check out creatingstartupjunkies.com. Thanks again.
Well, Paul, you got an incredible track record and resume going for you. I was doing a little research and saw that you owned and operated some popcorn franchises for a while before getting into the subscription, economy. Walk us through that kind of transition and that journey into this new subscription, economy.
Yeah, you did some good research if you found the popcorn stores hidden up. I think those are kind of buried in my LinkedIn profile at this point. But yeah, I was I started in business when I was in the 5th grade. My grandfather would walk me around Sam's Club and teach me about, markup and pricing and the art of the upsell. And, all through elementary school, middle school, I sold candy on the school bus and at school. And every time I do it until I got in trouble with the principal. And that kind of led me into my high school career, where I went to start a dial-up internet service provider, bought all this equipment, failed miserably at it, and had to use equipment for some things, so started building websites. Fast forward, my grandfather, who taught me the original, concept of selling candy and the art of the upsell, my grandmother had just passed away, and I was looking for something we could do together. And so I read this article about this chain of gourmet popcorn stores that were up and coming. And so I said, hey, I'm going to do this. He was a small investor in it at the time. And it's just a way for us to kind of do some things together. And I tell you, retail is a tough business, especially if, I had 4 mall stores at the peak of it, and mall stores are closed maybe 2 days a year. So, this is early. My wife and I had just gotten married. We had twins on the way. And I get that call Saturday morning, hey, I can't come in, from my manager. And I'm like, well,
Right.
Yeah, I got to go open the popcorn store. You want to come with me? And you have to wake up and go do it. But yeah, I guess I sometimes have a love-hate relationship with retail businesses. I love, talking with people, interacting with people, and being out there. And that's why I love our events so much. But 363 days a year is a lot. And especially when you're relying on your employees to help keep it moving forward. So I still miss those popcorn store days.
I bet, but I can definitely see how that kind of could help spur the interest in, subscription boxes and
Yeah, and so this was like, oh gosh, what year was this? So 2004. I ran the popcorn stores from 2004 to 2010. I mean, this was, Dale and Thomas Popcorn. They had an opportunity, I think, to do some big things in subscription, and they could have definitely gone down that path. It's just, these are the early days of e-commerce, right? Getting transactions and getting people to buy online, getting people comfortable putting their credit card online, let alone getting ready for the recurring payment. My first foray into, recurring revenue was with my hosting company. I had a hosting company from 1999 through, so this is where like the 2 decades comes in, 1999 all the way through until about, I think I sold it in 2010, somewhere around that range. And hosting was great because people really didn't it's a lot of work to move your hosting. You see this, you have to move the files and move DNS records. You have to worry about email and things like that. So it's pretty kind of capture that business, and they wouldn't likely leave. So those kind of things were really good business. And you see that with a lot of SaaS businesses too, where once people get in there, if you're using a sales tool like Salesforce and your data's in there and you don't want to leave, those are some nice ones where it's, it's a good business to hold on to long term.
Yeah.
And you're making money while you sleep.
Yeah, that's kind of fun too.
Which you never do on brick and mortar retail.
No, yeah, right. If the doors are closed and locked, you're not making money unless you have, that online presence. And it's interesting. There's, we see, there's a wine company we know and work with called Sip and Savor Wines, and they started a wine subscription. One of the things that we got them to turn on was a replenishment of certain types of wine. So we found that people really liked certain types of wine, and they would want to get like that Moscato on a subscribe and save basis. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And how I jumped off your brick and mortar there is these guys got into the online wine business because they were doing a lot of wholesale, and they realized our direct to consumer strategy doesn't exist. And it's a huge channel that we're not pursuing right now. They do massive wholesale business all around the country, but there's an opportunity to work directly with that customer, which they weren't doing. So by getting out there and selling wine online, but also allowing people to subscribe to it and get that replenishment going at their convenience, was really kind of a win for their business model.
Where do you see SubTA going at this point? So you've got the events, you've got the trade association. Are you going to vertically integrate and add a bunch of sort of infrastructure related support services, or where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think so. We're kind of just starting to scratch the surface with what we offer at SubTA, in my view. There's a ton more things that we can do to continue to support the subscription community and subscription economy, from expanding on our committees, expanding on forum like groups that we could do, and there some people call them like 20 groups, and continuing to layer in those services. We have our certification service that we're starting to build out and offer over the course of time. So let's say there's a subscription company you're looking at and not quite sure, this looks like a legit operation, but maybe there's some things that could cue you into, if they've been around for a while, can I trust that they're going to be there? This happened early on with a couple of subscription boxes where they just disappeared and they kept running people's credit cards. Mm-hmm. So we want to, we're building a certification process how we'll dive deep into that company. We'll do some mystery shopping. We'll talk to them. We'll understand their financials. We'll make sure they're going to be there tomorrow. So when they're hitting your credit card again, they're legit. Mm-hmm. And so this way the customer is much like a Better Business Bureau of the day, could log, see that they are SubTA certified. On the flip side, as the business, where this could be advantageous, is if we get to know their financials and we understand they're safe and they're sound and they're a good business, a credit card processor may give them a lower rate because they're a lower risk factor to them. Subscription is a little bit of a higher risk factor to credit card processing. So if we can help ease that, and ease that concern, then they can save money too. And in fact, it's a win for everybody in there. So I think there's a lot of ways we can continue to engage the community and continue to grow. And look, when we started, we are focused on subscription boxes. We still have our roots in subscription boxes, but subscription as a whole, D2C subscription is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. I mean, Amazon alone accounts for, something like 80 billion of, that subscription number out there. It's a lot. So, we're excited to keep on our journey and help grow this community.
And if someone were to look at your LinkedIn profile, as Davis probably did when he found your popcorn background, they would probably assume you were a shiny object guy. Is that so?
Assessment. Yeah. I saw actually Profitwell's email this morning where they're talking about like how to fight the shiny object syndrome. It's true in some respects, but also there's parts of that I've over the years been able to build and to have an amazing team that helps with things that we're involved in. So, you'll see, I've got my agency Element 5 Digital, have an amazing team behind it that runs it and is running the day-to-days. And the other thing that's advantageous to that is it's helped grow SUBTA and SubSummit. So Element 5 has its client base and has clients it works with, but also serves as an in-house resource for the companies that we have and that we're building. So when SUBTA needs some design time or development time, it doesn't need to go out and hire an agency or hire a bunch of freelancers. We can turn to our in-house agency. We bill at a lower hourly rate, just basically at our cost plus a small profit margin. And then the resources are immediately available. We don't have to hire those people directly in-house, and we can kind of use them on an on-demand basis. So all the other companies that we have run similar in that fashion. You see Capsiva out there is another one that we partnered in quite some time ago. Similar arrangement where Element 5 took an equity stake in Capsiva, and there's a whole team that runs Capsiva on the things that they're doing, but we serve as a resource to that. So Element 5 has been a really good agency and a really big catalyst. And that's actually how I got started in Gentleman's Box, is in exchange for building the site. We took an equity stake in the original company. And when we sold it last year to Cigar Club, that ended up being a good move and beneficial for us.
So you're really trying to build a portfolio of related, it's like a federation of related activities. So none of it is really orthogonal or in a different direction. It's all things that have synergy between them.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to do it. And fun for you because you don't get stuck in a rut on any one thing.
Yeah. And it's, there's certainly challenging days in there where it's like, okay, there's a lot of things pulling at me today and, trying to juggle those things. But, without an amazing team, I mean, look, I walked in this room, sat down at this computer, the lights were on, the Zoom was up and running, and, things were ready to go. If it wasn't for Bradley, who's sitting over behind the screen, I would have been, it would have been much more difficult to get done. So, having an amazing team behind all this is truly what makes it work well.
And how have you gone about team building in each place you've been?
Yeah. It certainly has its challenges. And you can hear the hesitation in my voice. There are days where it's great and days where it's certainly, challenging in there. I think by leading with the best intentions and by, just focusing on growing a good business and doing the right things, the rest tends to follow. It's challenging to find really good people. We were so lucky. Bradley was the brother of somebody I'm a firefighter with here in Troy. And, during COVID, my brother was looking for a career change and he started to work for us. And, I could probably trace back every single team member here and tell you where we found them from, but they come from so many different places and ways that, our internal team is the best resources, or whoever you're talking to, just putting the question out there on LinkedIn and building that team and finding the people. And then when they're internal, once a team comes on board, doing the things to nurture the team. We do every year, we do pre-COVID, we do our core Olympics. We bring all the different companies together, everybody from all the different companies, because the main holding company is called Core 3 Solutions. And so we do our core Olympics where we would host various different events that we'd make up, like a chair race through the warehouse, or, a Lego building contest and different things like that. And we do prizes and fun things. We do cookouts. We do, all sorts of things to continue to bring the team together. Even though there's multiple different companies in the same office here doing different things, we all kind of work off each other and feed off each other's energy. A little bit different through COVID, but, we're getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, in Core Olympics, I'm picturing like the Dunder Mifflin, paper
Right.
Olympics on The Office.
But yes, there's a couple events I've been meaning to steal from that. It's cheesy, it's fun, but it's we all laugh and have a good time. And then like we did it out at my house one time, and we've got a big park in my backyard, and so we could play out there. And then we grilled up or ordered some food in, whatever, different times doing different things, and just a good way to hang out and have some fun.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, people think when they go into entrepreneurship, I get to make my own schedule, but your schedule is usually, sun up to sundown. How do you find time to, my brother's a firefighter, so I know how, time intensive it is to be on call and to, to do that sort of thing. So I'm curious, like how you find time to give back to the community through volunteer firefighting while also managing a business.
So we're fortunate in Troy here. It's a pretty big city, 80,000 people. This is one of the largest volunteer fire departments, actually the largest in the state of Michigan, and one of the largest in the country. 6 stations and 30 individuals per station. We all carry these fancy little fire pagers, and when they go off, we go running. And there are days. I mean, last week I had 2 runs in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. and you got to wake up and just go your normal schedule and act like nothing happened. I've been on fires overnight from midnight until 8 a.m., putting out fires and doing things. And, because of the number of volunteers in Troy and the number of stations we have, it's not run all the time. It has its moments. But I give most of the credit for my ability to do what I do to my wife. I refer to her as the world's most amazing wife because we have 4 kids and, very active lifestyles of sports and school and everything else. And, we work hard, and it takes a village. My mom's around to help get the kids places, and we do what we need to do. And, the fire department's a good group, very supportive too, and what we're doing. And sometimes it's a good break during the day from the normal routine, just to stop and go put out a car fire. Like, it's just a good little release. You don't want anything bad to happen to anybody's stuff. You never want to see that. But if the car's insured and they don't have anything personal in there, and maybe they could buy a new one. I don't know. Never want to see that happen, but sometimes it's a good break. We'll say brush fires are like a nice break because then nothing bad is happening to anybody.
It's one of those tangible things where you can see immediately the impact of what you do. Different than a lot of other stuff that we do in digital businesses. Yeah.
It's interesting. You put out that fire, it's gone. It's definitely. I always tell people, I like shoveling my driveway and I like raking leaves because you see the effects of it right there.
Right.
You can see oh, I did that. That's done. Versus sending another email, which feels no sense of accomplishment.
It's kind of a primal, mindless catharsis to go through that, where it's just like, I'm going to take the axe and I'm going to chop down whatever I'm going to chop down. I can see what I did, or take the chainsaw out, or whatever it is. But some of that mindless sort of manual labor is really satisfying because when it's done, it's done.
I laugh at that because there was no joke. Like a couple of weeks ago, we were just about to sit down for dinner, and my fire pager went off, and there's a tree on fire in the park behind me. So I went out there and put out the fire, and then we cut the tree down, and that just felt great. The tree's dead anyway. I was going to fall, so we're getting out of harm's way. But it's like, man, this felt good tonight. Just cut a tree down. Nobody got hurt. We're good.
Especially after a frustrating day, maybe take that tree down.
Feels good.
If you were to think back, so you've been at this 2 decades. This is one of the things that we tend to ask to kind of land the plane on the podcast. But if you were to roll the clock back 20 years and take your current knowledge, your current self, you could time travel back. What bits of advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, the one thing I share with my team is it's okay to make mistakes as long as we learn from our lessons and don't make those same mistakes again. When we come across similarities or similar things, but let's try and avoid making the same mistakes twice. And I'm not one to dwell on the past and because look at the popcorn stores, it didn't end well. I mean, I lost a lot of money. Had to have a very expensive legal argument to get out of what we were doing, had to terminate leases early. I mean, 2008 hit those stores pretty hard. in addition to other factors that were at play there. So I could easily look back on that for the rest of my life and be like, man, like what a bad decision, what a poor mistake. But it is what it is. I learned so many lessons from that I take and move forward. And, so getting to the answer of your question, it's hard to pinpoint just one thing, but one of the biggest things that I often continue to try and improve in myself is just taking the time to plan things appropriately, to map things out, to really think things through, do the proper due diligence when you're looking at a new idea, when you're looking at a new opportunity. With the popcorn stores, if I maybe slow down for a minute, if I maybe just really, I had a whole bunch of people looking at some pro formas for me saying like, this doesn't make sense, but I was like, no, this makes sense. This makes sense. I had an entrepreneur tell me one time, like, you just got to look yourself in the mirror and not believe your own BS.
Exactly.
Like it is, I'll never forget that lunch and that conversation with him, and him saying that, like, you just don't believe your own BS sometimes. And so, there's certainly some things to take away from that and some lessons there.
It's fantastic. Paul, if our listeners, because we're in over 100 countries with listeners, we might have just, one person in Belarus, but they're there. If they want to find out more about you and what you're doing and how to connect with you, where can they go?
So we love to talk to people at they can join SUBTA for free at SUBTA.com. That's SUBTA.com. We have a free membership. We have a premium membership, only $9 a month. So it's a great value for all the things that you get out of it. If anybody has any questions about subscription, any things they want to learn, getting part of the community can be answered there, or they can always email us at letstalk@subta.com. You can find me in the usual spots, whether it be LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, who knows? Yeah, I've got them all. They're all sitting out there somewhere. So you can always find me and track me down. But the SubTA team is a great resource because I get 1 million emails a day and it's tough to keep up with. But we're always happy to help in any way possible.
That's great. Paul, thanks so much for coming on and sharing part of your story and all the great work you're doing at SubTA and at your agency. You've got a full life, and it's inspirational to hear all the stuff you've been able to manage with kids and businesses and now SubTA. So good on you. Keep it going.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I truly appreciate it, guys. Pleasure to meet all of you.
Take care.
Take care.
Absolutely. Take care.